Welcome to the Town of Abingdon, Virginia Planning Commission regular meeting. We appreciate your interest and we encourage public participation in our meeting. Your comments are important to our decision-making process. Please note that there will be two opportunities during the meeting for you to address the commission members. The first will come when we ask for public comment for items not on the agenda. The second will come when the chair opens a public hearing for comment from the public. Anyone addressing the commission will approach the podium, give your first and last name, and your complete physical address. Comments must be limited to 3 minutes. Roll call.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. Thompson?
Present.
Mr. Pennington? Mr. Sproles? Mr. Wilson?
Present.
And Mr. Schuman?
Present. Next item of business is approval of the minutes from the December 15th, 2025 regular meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review those? Are there any additions or corrections for the minutes? If not, is there a motion that they be approved as submitted?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. You want to call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Austin?
I would abstain as not being present.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Next order of business is public comment for items not on the agenda. Has anybody signed up for that? Does anybody want to make a comment for an item not on the agenda? All right. Next order of business, certificate of appropriateness. Kenneth A. Flanders, applicant. Betty J. Arnold, owner, certificate of appropriateness for demolition of accessory structure located at 453 West Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210, parentheses, parcel 019-1-1A, in parentheses. Staff report.
Ken Flanders, applicant representative, and Betty Arnold, owner, have requested approval of a COA for the demolition of rear accessory structure to existing concrete pad located at 453 West Main Street, tax map number 019-1-1A. Per Chapter 44, Land Use Section 53-4, a certificate of appropriateness is required to erect, construct, reconstruct, alter, restore, move, or demolish a building within the entrance corridor. The property is within the General Business District B2, the entrance corridor, and can be seen from a public right-of-way, therefore requiring the approval of the Planning Commission. According to the Washington County Land Card, the primary building and rear accessory structure were constructed originally in 1969, but alterations and repairs placed both structures effective circa 1995. Virginia Sports and Chiropractor currently occupies the building since circa 2012. Previously, the primary building had been occupied by a tattoo parlor. Access to the site will continue to be West Main Street. Adjoining properties are zoned B3 Central Business District on all sides. The applicant proposes the demolition of rear accessory structure to existing concrete pad. The rear accessory structure is a one-story brick garage approximately 40 feet by 30 feet. The accessory building has undertaken structural damage along the south elevation, primary, and the west elevation. Such damage includes large cracks between the bricks and fallen gutters. After demolition, the concrete pad beneath the structure will remain.
Any questions, Ms. Howard?
Not to be replaced or anything along those lines, just taking it down. Gotcha.
Yeah, not at this moment, just to take it down.
Yes, sir.
Does the applicant wish to say anything? They can, they don't have to. All right. Any discussion?
Make a motion, we approve the certificate of appropriateness as suggested in the information provided to us.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. Any additional discussion? If not, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Next order of business is certificate of appropriateness, Holston Mountain Artisans, applicant, Plot and Plat Holding, LLC, owner, certificate of appropriateness for non-illuminated wall signage located at 280 West Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210, parentheses, parcel 011-1-85A, in parentheses. Staff report.
Holston Mountain Artisans applicant and Plot and Plat Holdings LLC owner have requested approval to install one 4-foot 3-inch by 2-foot 8-inch 11.33 square feet non-illuminated single-side vinyl mesh banner with brass grommets onto the rear south elevation directly above the secondary entrance tan vinyl dome-shaped canopy as shown in the rendering submitted. According to Places in Time, Volume 2, Abingdon, Meadowview, and Glade Spring, Virginia, written by Nancy C. King, the brick building, historically known as the H.H. Scott Building, was constructed in 1914. The building, commonly known as Wolf Hill Center today, is occupied by Holston Mountain Artisans, Dot and Hop Studio, and apartments. There is an existing Holston Mountain Artisans wall sign on the portion of the building fronting West Main Street. Access to the site will continue to be West Main Street and Piggly Wiggly Alley. Adjoining properties are zoned Central Business District B3 on all sides. The applicant has requested approval of a CAOA for the following items. Install one 4-foot 3-inch by 2-foot 8-inch 11.33 square foot non-illuminated single-sided vinyl mesh banner with brass grommets onto the rear south elevation directly above the secondary entrance tan vinyl dome-shaped canopy as shown in the rendering provided. Tax map number 011-8-25 is zoned Central Business District B3. Businesses in the B3 are allowed one wall sign per business per street frontage. 280 West Main Street has frontage along West Main Street and Piggly Wiggly Alley, allowing a business located at 280 West Main Street to have two wall signs. The Washington County land card shows the south elevation has a total of 62 linear feet of building face with approximately 20.60 linear feet dedicated to each business located on the first floor as internally arranged currently. The proposed 11.33 square feet wall sign meets the requirements of the sign ordinance. The applicant did request to change that wall sign size from what is listed to 6 by 2, and it would still be 12 square feet and still meet the applicant's the sign ordinance requirements.
All right, now, will it replace that sign that's just freestanding there in the,
So that's a portable sign.
Yeah.
So it's an A-frame, so it's temporary. They're allowed to have it as long as they take it in and out of the building when the business closes. So it's not going to replace it. They're still going to have that one there.
okay.
Does that dome count as a sign since it has the name on it, or is that just?
It's a canopy sign. Yeah. And then they'd be allowed the wall sign.
Okay.
It'll be a little easier to see from the further back road.
Any additional question? Does the applicant want to say anything? All right. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve the certificate of appropriateness as presented.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right. Any additional discussion? If not, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Next order of business is certificate of appropriateness, Abingdon Interiors Hill Group and Edward Jones applicant, the Clifton Partnership owner, Jerry Signs Inc. representative, certificate of appropriateness for non-illuminated freestanding signage located at 263 West Main Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24210, parentheses, parcel 011-1-85 and 011-1-85A in parentheses. Staff report.
The applicants, Abingdon Interiors Hill Group and Edward Jones, and the owners, Clifton Partnership and Representative Jerry Signs, have requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness for the following items. Replace painted blue wooden post with a painted black steel post. Install one 3 feet by 3 feet, 9 square feet, non-illuminated, double-sided aluminum with applied vinyl graphics freestanding building tenant sign with a painted black aluminum frame sat on top of the proposed painted black steel post as shown in the rendering submitted. located at 263 West Main Street, tax map numbers 011-1-85 and 011-1-85A. The property is within the B3, the entrance corridor, and can be seen from a public right-of-way. The subject property contains .22 acres and is legally described as Cummings Lot West Main Acre .22. The existing building was constructed circa 1955, according to the Washington County Land Card. The building is occupied by Abingdon Interiors, the Hill Group, and Edward Jones. Access to the site will continue to be West Main Street and Plum Alley. Adjoining properties to the north are zoned Old and Historic Subdistrict 2, residential focused. Adjoining properties to the east, south, and west are zoned Central Business District B3. The applicants requested a COA for the following items: replace the painted blue wooden post, install one 3 feet by 3 feet, 9 square feet, non-illuminated, double-sided aluminum with applied vinyl graphics, freestanding building tenant sign with a painted black aluminum frame, sat on top of the proposed painted black steel post as shown in the rendering submitted. Tax map numbers 011-8-25 and 011-1-85A are zoned Central Business District B3. Businesses located in the B3 are allowed one freestanding sign per street frontage. The proposed 9 square foot freestanding building tenant sign structure meets the requirements of the sign ordinance.
Questions for Ms. Howard? If not, what is the pleasure of the commission?
I move the COA be granted as submitted, and I'm assuming, I do have a question, the colors are as represented.
Yes, the colors will be as shown in the rendering.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right, any additional discussion? If not, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Next order of business is a public hearing, special use permit, Addie Hertzstein, applicant owner, special use permit for home occupation, category C, in the high-density residential district located at 338 Lowland Street, Virginia, Abingdon, Virginia, 24211, parcel, parentheses, parcel 014-12-31, in parentheses, staff report.
Heidi Hurston, applicant owner, has requested approval of a special use permit to allow a home occupation category C in the high-density residential district located at 338 and 340 Lowland Street, tax map 014-12-31. The property is within the high-density residential district, and home occupation category C is a special use, therefore requiring a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission. The subject property contains approximately 0.5 acres and is legally described as WMR and Hazel M. Bish Prop Acres, 0.5, tax map number 014-12-31. Generally, the subject property is located at 338 and 340 Lowland Street. The building was constructed circa 1960 and previously occupied by Grace Lutheran Church. Currently, the applicant owns the buildings addressed 338 and 340 Lowland Street and intends to convert the church to a single-family dwelling and use the detached accessory building for a home occupation category C. The category C home occupation is requested for a professional art studio. Access to the site will continue to be Lowland Drive. Adjoining properties are zoned high-density R3 on all sides. The applicant proposes a home occupation category C within the high-density R3 to operate a professional art studio from the detached accessory building on premises and occasionally host studio art classes to a few clients at a time. The SUP findings are the following. 1, demonstrate that the proposed use, when complemented with additional measures, if any, will be in harmony with the purposes of the specific district in which it will be placed. The R3 district intends for higher density residential uses and compatible public and semi-public land uses, which allowed a church with regular Sunday services to operate from this location since circa 2010. The applicant has applied for applicable building permits to convert the church into a residence and the accessory structure into an art studio. Occasionally, classes will be hosted, but on a less frequent schedule than when the church was in operation. 2, demonstrate that there will be no undue adverse impact on the surrounding neighborhood in terms of public health, safety, or general welfare, and show measures to be taken to achieve such goals. Screening. The proposed home occupation is screened by an existing dense tree line along the eastern, southern, and western property line. The existing tree line should remain intact to preserve natural screening. Parking. The minimum off-street parking requirements from home occupation category C are not specifically stated within the zoning ordinance. According to Section 8310, interpretation of specific requirements for Table 8.3.9, uses not specifically listed shall be the same as for a listed use of similar characteristics. An art studio is considered a professional studio, which requires a minimum of one off-street parking space for each 500 square feet of floor area. The applicant intends to use the accessory structure approximately 576 square feet for the home occupation. Standard single-family dwelling units require a minimum of 2 parking spaces. A minimum of 3 total parking spaces are required. While there are not any marked or painted spaces, there is ample room for paved off-street parking. Signage. Only one sign is allowed per home occupation. There is an existing brick monument sign structure on the property near the entrance to the parking lot, approximately 2 feet by 2 feet. This structure may be retained and utilized for future signage or removed and replaced with a new monument sign not to exceed 4 square feet. The new monument sign may not be internally illuminated, or the applicant may choose to utilize one wall sign affixed to the rear accessory structure to be the art studio where the classes are held. The sign shall not exceed 4 square feet nor be internally illuminated. All signs require a sign permit application to be submitted to the Community Development Department with dimensions, materials, and rendering provided. The sign permit must be issued before any installation of signage can occur. One portable sign is allowed without a permit, provided the portable sign does not exceed 4 feet in height, is not placed in a location that obstructs sightline distance, and is moved inside when an event is not held. 3, show that the proposal meets the applicable specific and general standards required by this article. The Planning Commission can discuss with the applicant and make conditions within the motion for the special use permit. If seen to fit, the Planning Commission can incorporate conditions for the following. Other than signage and parking for the home occupation, there are no visible indicators of a home occupation beyond the property line. Parking spaces shall be 9 feet wide by 18 feet in length and striped or marked according to 44-8-3-7. At no time shall additional parking be made on the street. Storage of items for the business may not be placed in front of the building or be seen from the public right-of-way.
Questions for Ms. Howard? All right. Does the applicant wish to make a presentation?
Hello. Hi, I'm Addie Hurston of 338 Lowland Street. I'm going to share some slides with you so that you can get a sense of what I'm going to be doing with the space. Works. Ah! Oh no. This goes fast. Sorry. Where do I point it to? Thank you. Okay, so just one. Okay, so I've been a painter for many, many years, my whole life, but I've been a professional painter for the past 15, 16 years or so. I do a lot of traditional landscapes, florals, fruit has been my obsession lately, but I teach a lot of realistic painting classes, and that's what I plan to do in this space. You can see there's the one in the middle. There's a demonstration. There's a real flower, and then the one that I've painted. And let's see. I pressed the button, Gabe, and it didn't work. Okay, thank you. So events that I'm planning on having at the studio include occasional workshops. So I'm thinking once, maybe twice a month. Sometimes I'll do a 3-day retreat class. And I plan on having an annual open house, but that will be the only time this space will be open to the public. They said, I need to indicate with my signage and get approval for that later. But if I do have a sign, I wanted to say, open by appointment only, because I'm not going to be open on a regular basis.
May I
Yes.
interrupt you and ask
Yeah,
a question
yeah,
about
sure,
that?
yeah.
They were talking about the existing freestanding signage that currently exists.
Yeah.
Do you intend to continue to use that or not?
No, it actually partially fell over, so
Okay.
I've already removed
Took care of
it. I
itself.
hope that's okay. But it was falling over,
Okay.
so I won't be using that one for
Thank you.
sure.
Pardon me for interrupting.
Oh, no, thank you. Okay. Did it do it? Gabe, can you progress it
Yeah,
for me?
I can give it
Thank
for
you.
You just give me up when you want me to.
Okay, thank you. I added this slide just because I wanted to make the point that I teach very serious classes. I mean, I like to think that they're fun, but this is not a paint and sip type place. I do not serve alcohol of any kind. And so, you know, students come to me who want to do serious work. They want to make meaningful art pieces. And this is something that's important to me. But just wanted to let you know that that's what I'd like to attract to this space, and in case that was, you know, something that was of a concern. Wanted to share with you that my last art studio in Indianapolis, I also did a similar renovation. This was in a historic district, and you can see the before and after pictures on the right-hand side. This is the interior of the building. Much like this building, it had holes in the floor. The structure had to be redone. So this building, the sanctuary, which will be a house, had major structural problems, and so we're working on that now. Okay. And you can see here that the studio is this one that's at the back. You can't really see it from the street. I think this was perhaps the fellowship hall, or, the religious education room for the church. You can also see from this overhead view that there is a fair amount of parking at the front. The entire front of the yard is already paved. So, for my classes, I'll only have, 8 to 10 people tops in my class, and, this is more than enough space for the parking. I estimate, I've not measured it, but I think it's like 10 to 12 parking spaces at least. Just in case you guys wanted to see the before pictures, this is what the space looked like a few months ago. So the purple carpet is now gone, but we're working to change that into my house. And then the one that's on the right is what will be the art studio. So it'll look different when I'm all done with it. But thanks. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a question. When you say that you're going to do a 3-day retreat, does that mean that your students will be staying on site?
No, yeah. No, they'll just stay in local hotels and go out to eat in restaurants about town. I'd like to think it'll boost the economy in a very, very small way. It's small classes, but
Any additional questions for the applicant?
I have one for Gabe. Relative to parking, this is primarily a residential structure that will host on occasion students, classes, what have you. You've got ample parking. Does the parking need to be painted?
It would have to be striped, and then once construction kind of ends and everything, that would be part of our kind of final review or final checklist, would be that it's striped, which you can see if you go on the back. It's kind of just a roll-up where people can just park in those lanes, but anything in the front would have to be striped. But obviously, the applicant can do some landscaping to cut down that entrance and kind of create like a parking lot area as well where there's striped spaces too. But that's kind of like at our final checklist.
And that's covered a little bit in,
Recommendation.
what we could incorporate as conditions of the approval, should we give the approval. Any other questions?
Yeah, what hours do you anticipate, like having these events?
oh, it'll usually be in the afternoons. I usually teach classes from 1 to 4 p.m. is what I like. It's a nice sweet spot. Yeah.
But like not into the wee hours of the night?
Oh,
kind of
no,
thing,
no.
like,
No, I'm
Okay.
no. I've turned
Other
into a
questions for the applicant? All right, we appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this request for special use permit? Okay, if you want to come forward.
My name is Maurice Pope Barnes. I live at 417 Deadmore Street, Abingdon, Virginia. I own the property directly next door. I don't have a problem with that. I just have one question. Have you had the property surveyed? Because that sign and part of that parking pad is on my property. And when the church put it there, I notified them with a certified letter. That's something you need to know. That's my only comment. I'd like to see it on studio there, but you need to know that about that parking. That's my only comment.
Okay. Thank you. Should we incorporate something like that into what the requirement would be, or? is
That's really
it-
up to the property owner to do, to just verify where their boundaries are. Again, they still have ample parking.
And they have to stay on the property, so
Oh, okay.
it's kind of, they have to do it anyway.
Oh.
I would say.
Any additional people want to speak to the public hearing? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion the COA be approved as submitted, subject to parking being identified as far as the applicable striping, and obviously the meets and bounds being identified.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right. Any additional discussion? If not, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
You've got enough to carry. I'll abstain since I was not here for the full presentation.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Schuman?
Good luck. Next order of business, special use permit, Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners applicant owner, special use permit for residential cottage housing development in high-density residential district located at TBD Taylor Street, Abingdon, Virginia, 24211, parentheses, parcel 011-1-13, in parentheses. Before we get started on this, one thing I wanted to note is that when we updated the ordinances in 2023, one of the things we did in that update was to make arrangements for developments like this, whether it's called cottage housing or has another designation. But this was discussed, and the high-density district allows for this type of development, and I thought we ought to note that in the beginning. Staff report.
Sure. I'll give Amber a little bit of a break here. Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners applicant/owner has requested approval of a special use permit to allow a residential cottage housing development in the high-density residential district, R3, located at to be determined Taylor Street, tax map number 011-1-13. Property is within the high-density residential district, R3, and requires a special use permit, therefore requiring a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and approval from Town Council prior to completion. So here's just kind of overview map, as you can see here. This is the property right here. Again, that's just a zoning map. And here's kind of an outlook of what the site looks like today. Background, currently a vacant accessory structure occupies the property. There is an existing natural vegetative buffer surrounding the property. The property has steep topography throughout. Access to the site will continue to be Taylor Street. However, there is an unopened right-of-way adjacent to the northeastern property line. The unopened right-of-way shown in the picture to the left would connect Taylor Street to Henry Street. Town of Abington currently has no plans to develop the right-of-way, and the right-of-way is currently utilized as a driveway for parcel 011-1-8. Adjacent land uses, adjoining properties are zoned high-density residential district, R3 on all sides, as you can see here. Staff findings. The applicant proposes a residential cottage housing development within a high-density residential district, R3. According to Land Use Chapter 44, a cottage housing development located may be allowed in the R3 district with the approval of a special use permit. The SUP findings are the following. 1. Demonstrate that the proposed use, when complemented with additional measures, if any, will be in harmony with the purposes of the specific district in which it will be placed. The R3 high-density residential district is intended to allow higher residential density with compatible public and semi-public land uses when served by public water and sewer. Cottage housing developments are allowed by SUP in the high-density residential district with careful consideration to maintain open space and preserve a high-quality residential environment. All adjacent parcels have the same zone and use permissions as subject parcel. This property has not undergone a zone map amendment and has always been R3. 2. Demonstrate that there will be no undue adverse impact on the surrounding neighborhood in terms of public health, safety, or general welfare, and show measures to be taken to achieve such goals. Overall, all cottages will be arranged in a manner to allow common open space, private open space, parking, and landscaping throughout according to the applicable specific and general standards found in Section 7-2-13, Cottage Housing Developments, and Section 8, Community Design Standards of the Town of Abington Zoning Ordinance. Overall, all cottages will be arranged in a density according to Table 7.2.13. Cottage housing developments require 4 to 8 cottages per acre on a 2-acre minimum lot size. A total of 15 units will be placed on the 2.33 acre property. The maximum density of 1 cottage per 4,000 square feet is met. Typical dimensional standards for main structures in this district include setbacks that are 10 feet from property line in front and side yard, 15 from the property line in the rear yard, and the maximum height which shall be 25 feet from grade and unless otherwise approved as part of the SUP. All cottages maintain a separation of 12 feet minimum, have a covered main entry porch at least 5 feet in any direction and measuring 60 square feet, a maximum ground floor area of 1,000 square feet, and an additional covered private back porch. Facade. Architectural plans shall be submitted that demonstrate a variation in building design, including building articulation, materials, textures, and other features. Typical materials are outlined in Section 7-2-13F, but departure from the standards may be reviewed through an alternative design review process. Street-facing facades should include changes to inside materials and color, building modulation with width of at least 1 foot, and/or windows which include bay windows. More than one main entry door will be visible from the street, and no cottage appears to turn their backs to Taylor Street. Common open space. Over 50% of all cottages must have a common open space, which shall not include slopes of greater than 15%, streets or parking area. 9 of 15 cottages abut a common open space, including a dog park, pollinator garden, and picnic area. Private open space. Individual cottages shall have a minimum of 200 square feet of private space separated by a privacy fence, no taller than 36 inches in height, and no less than 8 feet in any direction. All fences shall be designed according to Section 8-2-9. The smallest private area is shown on page C102 as 6 feet 4 inches from the building to the privacy fence. This will need to be adjusted so the dimension is no less than 8 feet from building to fence on the rear or the side. Landscaping. A landscaping plan shall be included with the site plan submission. The plan shall include the standards outlined in Section 8-2-3 and 8-2-4. There is an existing dense tree line surrounding the property line that may be retained and credited towards landscaping requirements if they are healthy and conform to the minimum size and height standards outlined in 8-2-7 and protection standards outlined in 8-2-8. Screening is required for mechanical units and ground-based utility equipment. Roll-off waste receptacles will be utilized instead of dumpsters, and no screening shall be required. Parking and loading. Parking lots should be designed according to Section 8-3-7. Each space shall be a minimum of 9 feet wide by 18 feet in length, striped or marked, and include accessible off-street spaces are required in accordance with Virginia Uniform Statewide Building Code. Parking lots for cottages are typical in rear or side. However, this parking lot will be clustered in the middle of the site due to the topography considerations. Low-impact stormwater development techniques are encouraged for parking areas and walkways. A minimum of 2 spaces is required per dwelling unit. A total of 30 spaces is required and proposed. A minimum of 10% of the overall parking lot is required to have interior landscaping parking islands with 1 tree for every 5 spaces and other shrubs, lawn, or trees throughout. The parking lot should have reduced visibility from the street and should be landscaped and screened accordingly. Lighting. A lighting plan shall be included with the site plan submission. The plan shall include the type of lighting fixtures, location of fixtures, color temperature, height of poles, and illuminance of light as outlined in Section 8-1-3. Lighting shall be pointed downward and away from adjacent properties. Mechanical or electrical equipment associated with lighting should be screened. Signs. The cottage housing development is allowed 1 freestanding monument sign that is not internally illuminated. This monument sign shall be no taller than 6 feet with a total area of 16 square feet or less. Adequate landscaping shall surround the perimeter of the sign. All proposed signage to be installed must be submitted with a sign permit application into the Community Development Department and be issued a sign permit before any installation of any signage can occur. Stormwater management and erosion control and stormwater management, or ESM plan, shall be submitted according to Section 8-5 of the Town of Abington Land Use Ordinance. 3, that the proposed meets the applicable specific and general standards required by this article. A site plan, grading plan, utility plan, and street, walking path, and parking plan have been submitted for review and the document reviewed in determining if the requirements for cottage housing and community design standards have been or will be met. Overall, staff can conclude that the approval of this special use permit will not constitute adverse impact to public health, safety, or general welfare, provided that all standards outlined in Section 7-2-13, cottage housing developments, and Section 8, community design standards are met. The Planning Commission can further discuss with the applicant and incorporate additional conditions within the motion for the special use permit. We have a presentation from the applicant. Before they come up, Mr. Wilson emailed me just asking about the stormwater and plan and everything. We recently, or formally, we were approved for a grant to improve the basin on Wheeler Street, so that would work into their plans. That's the reason why there's no plan yet, because we were waiting until formal approval, which just happened last week. So again, Hagan Gill, he gave us a memo just to say everything will be met accordingly with the state regulations and town regulations. If you have any questions about what that plan would entail, he is here to answer any of those, or the applicant.
So is that in lieu of a detention basin? You've got 2 drainways that come into this.
Mm-hmm. Hagan, do you want to come up and describe? This is Hagan Gill. He's the senior engineering technician. He's also our stormwater management facilitator.
Hey, sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
No, I mean, in looking at the plans, and if you look, I'm assuming with the lane group, yeah, here's, I guess, existing. You've got 2 different drainways that flow into this property, right? And there's no provision for detention basin. And all of a sudden, you're creating a number of impervious areas that create runoff.
Yeah, so originally the basin that the town owns that's on the corner of Wiley and Wheeler Street, it was kind of when they did the neighborhood redevelopment, they installed it then. We had actually looked at, for some like TMDL reasons, actually upgrading that basin, making it larger, giving it a bigger capacity. And just kind of happened that this project was going on at the same time, so we could kind of use it as a regional basin for that whole area. So the design of the basin will take that into account.
How much space is left in it? What are you designing the basin for? I mean, because there's obviously additional property that is undeveloped.
Yeah, sure. So, which actually, we haven't even got the plan yet for the basin. It's just, we actually just got the grant funding to start the engineering and stuff like that.
So are we sure
last
the,
week.
in not being problematic here?
Sure. Yeah.
Are we sure the basin can accommodate not only this project, but future projects?
Yes, we would ensure that. That was the point of actually going after the grant. So we would ensure that it would, or it just wouldn't work. They would have to do something a little different. But
Yeah, I'm not familiar with projects of that nature, Scott. Are you?
Yeah, it should be fine. I mean,
Seems like a cart before the horse almost, though.
well, a little bit, but I mean, they can project what the runoff's gonna be, so.
Yeah, but
essentially,
you've got your finished grade. Lane Group did finish grade
Mhm.
on that. So you, like Mr. Wilson stated, you should be able to project what the runoff is going to be combined with the
Yes.
historical runoff.
yes, yeah, and that's essentially, it's going to be similar to the Meadows basin out there with all the different parcels. We're going to assign them each parcel, like a drainage impervious area that can drain to it. So the vacant parcels will have those, very similar to the Meadows, the way it's configured. So it has like a max for each parcel. So if they couldn't, they would have to do something on site.
And if I may interject, that might be, these questions that you're asking, they might be more suited for the applicant, so if we could have their presentation, then I'm sure Matthew Lane could offer some insight into that as well.
I will say, we also perform preliminary calculations for the
Probably come on up,
Yeah, you
Matt.
need to.
Thank you, sir. We prepared preliminary
Can you-
calculations.
Can you give us your name,
Sure.
address, and so forth?
I'm Matthew Lane, owner of the Lane Group at 310 Valley Street Northwest here in Abingdon. When we prepared the grant application for the stormwater improvements, we did preliminary calculations on what the pond would need to look at. So we've at least got the preliminary stuff together as to how it'll handle the additional runoff. And there may still be required some on-site work with some of the open spaces, but in general, we believe that the pond, as it's proposed to be modified, will be adequate to handle the development.
Okay.
Questions for Mr. Lane?
One of the questions, how is the water actually getting from this site to the basin?
Well,
You have an aerial?
you have a site plan somewhere in that. There it is. What we're intending to do, there is a storm drainage system already along the road there that was installed years ago when the original pond was built. We'll run calculations to see if that existing stormwater system can handle the additional flow. If it can, we'll just pipe it over to that stormwater system. If it can't, we'll put in a new pipe from the development all the way to the stormwater pond.
And that was my question, because you've got an adjoining landowner
Yes,
that, okay.
yes. I think it will be adequate to handle what we need it to. But again, when we do the final calculations, we'll know for sure, and if we have to, we'll,
You'll put on site?
yes, sir.
Additional questions? All right,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
next would be the applicant's presentation. I'm sorry? When we open the public hearing, the applicant will make a presentation, and then I'll open the public hearing, and then you'll have adequate time to.
Unless y'all want to keep going on stormwater first. All right, Mayanna Rice. I live at 15506 Mendota Road. So the project that you have here before you tonight is called the Taylor Street Cottages. And I'll give you a little bit of a background about how we even got here in the first place. So the Wellspring Foundation of Southwest Virginia was started 4 years ago, and their main goal were for health, children and families, workforce development, education, and economic development. That's sort of the pillars of their organization, what they fund, what they look for in the community, how they try to influence the outcome of the lives of 4 counties: Washington, Grayson, Russell, and Smith. One of the things when they approached the 4 counties and asked them what was probably the most important thing that they needed in their community. Every one of the community said workforce housing. If you could go to the next slide. And so that is what we are proposing here. Workforce housing for us is 80 to 120% of the AMI, and that is a family of 4 making between $65,000 and $100,000. I want to put that out there because this isn't an affordable housing project. When we say workforce, we're not saying affordable. The houses in that price range are to be sold between $200,000 and $300,000. One of the questions that we often get is, well, aren't we competing with the for-profit market? And I can tell you right now that we're not, because there are no homes going into our local market in this price range. You all have a few subdivisions and a few other projects that are happening, but for example, I think the one out on Green Springs Road is like $575,000. I think some of the other ones, you have some rental ones, but really honestly, there's not a lot of workforce development housing going on in most of the community. So why can we do this when maybe other people can't? We are functioning as a nonprofit development organization, and so one of the key things that we work with is this idea that we're not building these for profit. The program that we're using is called a community land trust. Go to the next slide, please. And a community land trust is fairly simple. It's a lot like a condo association. Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners buys land, they build houses, then Appalachian Housing Partners sells homes with a ground lease. It's basically a deed restriction that says when and if the owner sells the home in the future, they also have to pay that model forward. So it ensures that if you buy a house from us for $215,000, you really can't just wait for the market to sell it and sell it for $400,000. If you are in it for a certain number of years, then you'd get to gain that equity. We think that's really important because that assures that houses in this neighborhood and in the projects that we work on won't just increase the entire neighborhood cost and basically create an overabundance of high-cost housing. Go to the next one. So you kind of saw this a few seconds ago when Matthew talked about what the project is. I'll go ahead and take us to the next slide. The great thing about this location, which I hope you all drove by it, but it's less than a mile from William King, Main Street Retail and Restaurants, the Barter Theater, HMG, and the Ballot Health Campus. So this is a perfect location for homes for workforce. We imagine that when we say workforce, we mean somebody like a Gabe working here for the town of Abingdon. We imagine a public works person, maybe having a spouse as a teacher. So that's really where you get that $65,000 to $100,000 because that is a really critical point for people that are trying to purchase a home. If we can go to the next one. So this is the surrounding neighborhood. Again, there's a mix of homes. The size of the homes, honestly, are very similar to what we're proposing. We're not trying to put this development with smaller houses in a neighborhood that has really huge homes. So we think that it'll fit really nicely with the character of this neighborhood. We talked a little bit about the open space that's required for a cottage development. So you'll see that we have identified three locations specifically. The dog park, a pollinator garden along the rear, and then a gathering space in the front, which is sort of our proposed picnic area. You can also then, if you can go to the next slide, Gabe. We sat down with the town of Abingdon, which everyone does, and we really said, well, what are your needs? So I think we started, did we start with 16 or 18? We started with a higher density based on the actual density that would be allowed here. And working with the fire department, we identified that the turning radius needed to be large enough so that you can get a fire truck all the way through here. So that limited some of our total number of dwelling units. We needed this water and sewer connection that is inside Taylor Street for the development, so that's a really great piece that exists. We can talk a little bit more about stormwater, but curb and gutter are in Taylor Street, and we will have to install curb and gutter on this project as well, primarily because that's what the code says, that if you are adjacent to other stormwater, or you're adjacent to other stormwater features like curb and gutter, then you also have to install it on your property. So we will be doing that. If you want to switch to the grant. So Talking a little bit more about the grant and the stormwater upgrades to the pond. Yes, we found out that that was happening and in existence, that the town had actually applied for a grant to upgrade this stormwater pond that exists here on Wheeler Street. And one of the things that we indicated to the town is that we would provide the matching funds to that grant. Because if we just were completely isolated and said we're not going to help improve that stormwater facility, then we would, again, be having a giant pond, and all of the stormwater would have to be retained on our site, which would, again, limit the total number of units. It probably could be done, but if there's the ability to partner and be, in that relationship with the town, we think it's really important, and we're willing to provide the entire match. I will say that your comments about, making sure that this is accessible, so if the adjoining landowners also wanted to put a development in, that they could. We had some discussions originally about should we look at the total square footage that we're actually needing, and kind of try to say, well, maybe we shouldn't put the entire match in because this basin, once it's improved, will be for the entire development. And we said, no, it doesn't really make any sense. Let's just go ahead and match it. That way the town can go ahead and improve that basin. And we will be beneficiaries, but also anyone else who wishes to develop in this area will also be a beneficiary. So cottage design. We have talked with a few different designers, and one of the things tonight that I would like to discuss with you all is really which one of these really appeals to you. When we get to the end, I'm going to ask for a vote that's really primarily on the special use permit, with the idea that we will come back to talk to you specifically about the final design of the structures. There are a number of different people that do cottages. You can see that on the top left you have something that's quite a bit more modern. You have what is probably more southern and has that cottage feel on the right-hand side. And then this developer that we are looking to potentially build the homes for us with the blue ones in the middle, he's actually out of Asheville. So we have a variety of people that are interested in this project. If you all approve the special use permit tonight and town council does the same, we will actually put this out for an RFP. So we'll put the entire project out for an RFP. We'll see who comes back with a really great price for us, and that's where we would come back with that final design of the actual cottage. So as you saw from the staff report, the proposed 15-unit cottage development complies with all of the applicable standards that you have in your town of Abingdon zoning ordinance. Some of those final things, like a landscaping lighting plan, again, those need to come after we fully design the project, because as you all are sitting here speaking now, if for some reason we needed to do a stormwater piece differently, we may or may not lose one or more of the cottages. So tonight we're really looking at the design of the layout to see if you all agree with that, and then also some of the design elements. So the next one, the next sort of series is to kind of explain to you a few of the things that we're trying to get to. We're requesting approval for primary exterior materials that would also be allowed to have high quality vinyl siding. I know that when this was originally written, it was really focused on wood and those types of things, but there are a lot of products out there that would match very nicely in this community. Also, looking at those pictures of all of the surrounding units in the neighborhood, I mean, they are all vinyl siding, so it would make sense that we could use some alternative sidings and not be required to do wood. The next one. We'd like to do some brick and stone accents, primarily around the entryways. We'd like to probably not have like a full width of masonry facade, but do it more of a feature. The next one. We want to also be able to do some PVC or composite trim in place of wood or fiber cement. Some of these pieces that we could do in wood, a lot of times there's just going to have a longer longevity if we use a different product. And, okay, next one. We're talking pretty much about a simple gable or shed roof, really not going with a cross gable or a lot of decorative roof offline sets, because one of the things that I will say with the cottage development is we're trying to fit small homes in a small area and really create that cottage environment where you interact with your neighbors, and the front porch really becomes that piece where you're sitting on it, you're interacting. It's a community that we're developing. The next one. We do intend to do the full porch depth, but we wanted to request approval if there was any necessary situations where we'd have to reduce the porch width or depth just slightly. We wanted to have some discussion of that. And really, we're trying to do an elimination of non-structural porch detailing. Really, when it comes down to building a house, and I know I put it in the staff report, didn't really put it in the presentation, but you know, it really honestly costs the same amount of money whether or not you want to sell a house for $350,000 or if you want to sell a house for $266,000. The real piece that's important in there is that philanthropy is stepping to the table to say, we're going to help subsidize that cost. We're not saying that if we build a house here for $250,000, we have to sell it for $300,000. We're saying we could build a house here for $266,000, and we may have to sell it for $245,000. And so I think that's where some of these alternative design elements are really important to us. Just having that flexibility, we are 100% willing to either come back to you all with the final product or bring it to staff if you all approve that. The final slide on the request, and this is to show you that you can get some of this rather than every single one of them being a different color, which I honestly think wouldn't really necessarily work in this community. I've given a few examples here where the palette is a little more simple, where you end up with 2 colors perhaps, or maybe you do some different colored doors. But you don't try to sort of make it a Key West style or, add a bunch of different colors in there. Because, again, wanting to fit into the neighborhood, and the primary color in the neighborhood is really that white vinyl siding with black shutters. So we also will try to ensure that our final product fits really nicely into the neighborhood. So our final slide is that we're requesting approval of the Taylor Street cottage development with the alternative design. Conditions to be included that we talked about are that staff would approve the cottage design, siding, roof trim, and that we will, of course, submit all the final plans for lighting, landscaping, signage, and all of the infrastructure, water, sewer, stormwater. So with that, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions for Ms. Rice?
One of the questions, your open space on the plan that is being drawn. If you can get to just the overview. Okay, right there is fine. The landscape area that is the darker brown, is that proposed open space?
It is. That would be the proposed pollinator garden.
And that's common?
That is common, yes.
I think the code specifies that the maximum is 15% grade. All right, from the rear of the structure on your left to the property line, you're roughly rising 20 feet. This is a difficult piece of property to develop.
It is.
I mean, and I don't know what the distance is, but I think your slope's going to be greater than 15%. So, I mean, you mentioned that you were in compliance with everything. I don't think that's in compliance.
Okay. I will have our engineer address that when he gets up here to address that. And if that is something that we need to request the alternative design for, I'd be happy to.
And the project, personally, I'm in favor of. It's just this is a difficult piece of property to develop. You've got 2 different drainways coming into it. That your watershed in that area goes from the top of Taylor's Hill, top of Crestview, backside of Crestview, all the way down. But, and then you've got Henry Street that comes down as well. And the slope. The slides that you put up of the different facades and everything, that's level land. But these are just little aspects that, personally, I would like to know that they're in compliance with everything. The project and the need for what you're trying to do, I agree with. I do. We've got a number of employees at Paramount Manufacturing that fit into the category. So I'm in support of the project. It's just you want to make sure that dots all the I's and crosses the T's.
Yeah, and we, again, like when we first met with the town, we had a higher density. So if for some reason we end up in a situation where we would have to take out one of these or more to create another open space that's common, we can. We just, really thought that having the hillside with a pollinator garden that people are able to get to would make probably the most sense for that area in the back. And I will let our engineer address stormwater and slope.
You are definitely correct. It's not an easy site at all. And that slope in the back will be greater than 15%. It'll have to be.
Yes, sir.
Just because we'll have to grade into the hill to get the road in and get the cottages situated. But also, it's a tiered development, so everything's not going to be flat. The cottages will be tiered as you go up the hill, which I think will look good anyway.
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
Mr. Lane, that's what I was looking at. I think the back of the one cottage was 2146.
Mhm.
All right, and the top of the slope's 2166.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
it's steep. It's very steep, and we've also got a retaining wall there on the right-hand side of
Yes,
the
sir.
property as well.
Yes, sir.
To deal with the slope. But no, you are correct. Absolutely.
Additional questions for the applicant or for Mr. Lane?
Thank you, sir. We are using every bit of the property, like you said, so it's, and as Mayanna said, the only thing we can do to get more flatter space would be to take out one or two of the cottages themselves. So,
It's just like you stated, it's a difficult piece to work with.
yes, it is.
So,
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right,
I do have I do. So relatable, so fast forward in terms of getting to the point where the development is done. Are your applicants screened in a situation such as this in terms of when you have attainable, you'll have a lot of people who will be, well, it's cheaper in terms of doing that. So those applicants are screened from a mortgage standpoint.
That's correct.
And there will be additional oversight within the association after the fact to monitor restrictions and the things that are there. So
That is
that's
correct.
the harder part is you're screening your applicants within the, is there, like, what goes into that? Is there,
So an applicant who would be interested in this program would come to us, and we would do a basic intake application. And we're actually proposing that this would be online. They would talk about, their income, their current, debt-to-income ratio. They would go through the normal things that you would basically for applying for a mortgage. However, we're just a program. So they still are, we have several banks that we're working with, including Virginia Housing, and that is where they would actually receive their mortgage. So we're not a mortgage company, we're just a program. So yes, let's say you came in and you were making $65,000 a year and your wife was making $30,000, then we would say, okay, you qualify for the program, and then we would accept a mortgage that you bring to us or provide you the banks that are working with us to actually get a mortgage. So we're not providing those. Now, the things that we will also intercede with are things like Hometown Heroes. So, there's a program for firefighters to get down payment assistance. Spark, which is another program that allows people to get in. There's a Dreamer program that allows down payment assistance for first-time buyers of a home in a generation. So there's a lot of really interesting programs out there that we can really funnel people to that will allow them to bring down, the cost of their actual mortgage. And so that's why we keep saying we're building houses that are market rate homes, but we have a lot of access to programs that people will be able to utilize. And basically through Virginia Housing, there's programs up to people making $140,000 a year. So I think that a lot of people aren't necessarily tapping into all the things that exist out there. There's one really fantastic program where for every dollar you put in, they put 100 up to $10,000. So there's a lot of ways for us to create an affordable product without creating an affordable structure, if that makes sense. And so our goal really is to leverage the programs that exist, leverage the dollars that Wellspring is willing to put into the housing market, and say, philanthropy really needs to step to the table to start solving some of these housing issues, because a normal developer, this just isn't, there isn't enough of a margin to make it appealing to them. And so who's going to do that? Well, that's where we can step in. And yes, we're looking at buying lots that are already developed and doing one-off homes, et cetera. But one of the things we thought with this is that it really fits really nicely into the community. It fits really nicely in sort of that walking distance to everything that, people may not want to walk uphill, but it at least is close to where we think a lot of the workforce will come from. And it's an infill project, right? Like, it's infilling in a spot. Now, could we have come to you and just proposed, 6 lots across the front? Sure, but it didn't seem like that would really meet with what this community in that area really has going for it. So yeah, we're excited. We think that a lot of the folks that we've talked to could really use this type of adventure. And I think, we're really looking at ensuring that we're attracting young people. Like, Abingdon has a lot of houses that are attractive to maybe some seniors that are moving in. But this idea, like, I keep thinking of a Gabe or somebody of this nature, but, living in a community where you're with other people that's active, that young families can have as a jumping off point. And one of the things that they say about community land trusts is really that about 80% of people that come into a community land trust use it as that jumping off point. After they have been in this type of an environment and they've gained equity, they take that equity and they go into the open market. So it really is hopefully a path forward for building wealth. And that consistently is what the Wellspring Foundation has found, is that when you're really looking at a person's health, if you can improve their wealth, you can improve their health. And so this really is starting to create those pathways for people to not throw away their money in rent, find a unit that they can afford, and hopefully it's a beautiful community, and then they might jump off into another house. So yes, we are trying to meet all of the standards as we indicated. We are working to help match the dollars on the grant for the stormwater to ensure that we can have this density and that other parcels in the area that may want to develop could take advantage of that improvement.
Kind of piggybacking on Mr. Pennington, I would anticipate you have multiple applications for every structure.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate?
Yeah, so it will be basically a first come, first serve based on qualifying folks. We're hoping that it won't take, we're hoping that this isn't the last one. I think if we do our projections correctly, and we have done housing studies in every single one of the 4 counties that are in our region, we'd love to be developing at probably 40 houses a year in the different communities. So we'd love to do one and then, come back and do some more. So we are land banking currently, finding properties. I think infill development is a thing that's really important to towns. It supports your restaurants, it supports the small businesses, and so rather than just pick a parcel out in the county and start from scratch, we're really trying to focus on doing this type of work inside the town.
I've got one more question, and then I'll be quiet.
No, you're fine. Ask away.
The trust.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is analogous to an HOA. All right, you're talking about deed restricting. Who is going to be overseeing this?
Sure.
I mean, because in essence, it's in perpetuity.
It is in perpetuity. So the foundation with Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners incorporated Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners as a 501c3. So it is our responsibility when we go through this process that the people who are in our communities understand the type of community they're in. So not only will we have an application for qualifying, but some of the really interesting things that we're looking to provide is really that homeowner's education, right? So not everybody has ever had to take care of a home. And frankly, sometimes you don't want to take care of your home, right? So we're looking to provide that homeowner's education, financial education as well. And I will tell you that financial education doesn't mean that the more money you have, the more educated you are about finances, because frankly, we find that that's not always true, right? And so just understanding how a mortgage plays into your process. When they go to sell, because they have that deed restriction through our program, you essentially wouldn't be able to sell at that higher price. Like, we are going to be in communication with them on a regular basis, so they become part of a program. And I know you've kind of questioned the cottage development from the get-go with mortgages and all of that. The style of development is really considered a single-family condo, right? So most of us understand what a condo is. You don't own the land, you own the buildings. And that's really what would end up happening here. So Appalachian Highlands Housing Partners would still be the common space owner, and the owners would own the land and have the private open space as well. So there will be some management on our part, is what I'm trying to say. Like, we would be the ones that would be part of understanding who plows the parking lot in snowstorms, and the general maintenance of all of the open space areas would be part of our program. So we currently have several properties that we've just purchased, and we're doing the maintenance on them now. And they'll
But
be
you
on.
would have covenants, conditions, and restrictions
Yes.
relative to
Yes.
maintenance of the exterior.
Yes.
All of it.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, obviously, the town of Abingdon has a really strong code enforcement arm. But in general, a lot of people ask those questions of us. And yes, because the properties are with us in perpetuity, right, we then have to sell that house again. We have no incentive to let the property go. And so part of the stewardship of the land is that stewardship of the homeowners. And I went to a conference about other community land trusts last year, and there was a woman there who said they have 1,200 homes in their community land trust, and every Christmas she writes a handwritten Christmas card to each one of her tenants. So it becomes a relationship. It's really not just we sell you a house at an attainable price and we see you in 10 years. There will be a need for that stewardship piece to exist.
How is Highlands funded?
The Appalachian Highlands
Yeah,
Housing.
and
Sure.
So we've seen 501c3s that have gone under.
Sure. So our operating budget is funded through Wellspring. Our executive director, Sean McMurray, is also the executive director of Wellspring. So it's integrally tied together. It is their initiative. If you are asking what happens if the whole community land trust fell apart, if that's your question, people would be able to own the homes. We would basically remove the deed restrictions. But we don't see that happening because one of the key things is just that, it should be in perpetuity. So even if you end up with 100 homes, you still can continue to manage those with a smaller organization. But as of right now, the support, because the executive director is the executive director of both organizations, really keeps that continuity going.
What's the due structure on a monthly basis to the tenants?
Yeah, so we are honestly trying to keep it at a minimum. The real reason that you do a due structure is really to keep that relationship.
It's incentive.
Correct.
Yeah.
It is not necessarily because we want to make money off
Correct.
of it. And so right now we are thinking no more than about $200 a year. Really, it's again, we expect a lot of participation from them, but we are not expecting a ton of dues.
Because that goes back to the feasibility, the overall longevity of the project, because if this ultimately becomes a drain on all of your resources and essentially you become a landlord and a renter rather than doing that, and if your abilities are not to capitalize upon equity and appreciation. So if somebody were to sell with the principal balance that they pay down, is that essentially the equity that?
The equity that they would acquire is the balance that they pay down, but also a portion of the sale price. So we are looking at something like a 2 to 5% increase for every year that you're in it. And so one of the things that is key is that you actually create the home. When the first time you sell it, you're selling it at a lower value, because that's sort of where you kickstart the affordability and perpetuity. So let's say I sold one of these homes for $210. When you sold it in 7 years, you might be able to sell it for $250 45. So all of the payment, all of the equity that you've paid, plus a portion of the actual sale price will go back to you. So in that scenario, let's just say right now you're paying $1,800 in rent and you were able to get this at a $1,400 a month mortgage. There's a potential of saving $400 a month for 7 years, plus your equity that you're building in there, plus a portion of the sale. So you're just, we've gotten really used to this idea of buying a house for $250 and selling it for $450, and that is why we're in the situation that we're in. So I remember when I first bought my first house, I bought it for $89,000, and we sold it for, I think we sold it for $107. Right, so that was like a natural progression. We'd been in it for like 5 years, and it just seemed like that was sort of a reasonable. We took that equity, and then we went to the next house. Right, it wasn't until I got up into a much larger house where suddenly I sold it for a huge amount of money, and really, honestly, that's what's continuing to create the circle that we're in. And so these really, the whole goal really is to create attainability and
Okay,
perpetuity.
but the trust is actually setting the sale price.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I understand paying down the equity,
Yep.
paying down the principal.
Yep.
All right, plus I would envision a portion of the delta in
Correct.
between 210 to 245 is what
Correct.
they're going to be responsible for, or they
Correct.
could share in.
Correct.
But it's not going to be a market price.
Correct. So it should never be, I mean, unless we had a catastrophic situation, you would never hopefully be selling that house at market. Two things that are really important for that: community land trusts are not allowed to be used as comps. So if somebody came in and they were able to get a whole bunch of programs stacked together and they were like, oh, I actually had a mortgage on this for $187, you cannot look at that as a realtor and use it as a comp. So it does not bring down neighborhoods. It doesn't create any of that. Really what it does is it really gives an avenue and a vehicle for people to get into home ownership when they maybe wouldn't. And one of the things we keep talking about internally is when people say, well, who would buy your product? I think you said the opposite, which is like you think we'll have them sold before they're even on the market. But who would buy your product? And we kind of look at that and chuckle because there's so much pressure right now on that middle price home, right? So you have seniors retiring who are looking for an affordable house. You have people that are coming to our community for jobs, buying and converting churches into homes. But you have people, coming into the community that have come from places where they've sold homes for more money. And so they're putting pressure on that market because there's no homes to buy. And so I was talking to somebody in Russell County today, and they were asking me about housing prices. And I said, if I go on to Realtor.com right now and I look for like homes under $200,000, there's about 15 of them. And out of that 15, there's probably 7 that I wouldn't want anyone to live in. So when people say like, oh, the housing prices still seem low, that's because somebody's trying to sell a house that shouldn't be lived in for that low price, right? And so I think there's a lot of pressure on the market from all different aspects, and this really is something that we think will be a solution to really keep that affordability and perpetuity. And we're trying this as a cottage one. We're looking at some townhouse projects, which again, we could do that here in R3, right? We could do,
That's allowed by right.
I think we could even do apartments, right?
Yep, so all 4 kind of traditional, I guess, modes of dwelling types, so single family, 2-family, multifamily, and townhouse would all be allowed by right here. So really, if they went with that sort of development, they wouldn't even be here.
We wouldn't
They
be
would just
here,
go
yeah.
through the town.
Yeah, and the
review,
density
unless
would
they
be
ask for
greater
something
under.
that's
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
But
So this is, I mean, we think that this is really valuable, and we think that it's going to be very interesting. And again, I think it'll attract people, like you said, that work for your organization. I think it's a young person's community, and I think it fits really nicely into that neighborhood. So
if they have the opportunity, that gets back into everything that you just mentioned,
Yep.
whether it's out of state, what have you, applying. You made the comment earlier, first come, first serve. So if this goes to the intended purpose, I think it's great. As far as working individuals, things of this nature. It's individuals that may be able to afford. You can have somebody come to you on a W-2 basis or on a
Yeah.
tax return basis, meet your guidelines and then still may have resources elsewhere. That would, and I don't think that's the purpose of this.
No, and these won't be Airbnbs, because again, it's home ownership. We would be reviewing all of their finances, so they would have to qualify. And the other key thing, I think, with that is just the qualification piece. You still have to have a mortgage, right? We're not a mortgage company, so all of those pieces go into effect. And one of the things that we find often with people making, the 80 to 120 is that, interesting way, that actually gives you a lot of flexibility for loans. And so, some of the struggle may be that people have car loans and, they may have loans for student loans and a variety of things. So, frankly, your buying power in this is again shrunk, right? Because you actually have more debts, potentially more debts, because you actually make sort of that sweet spot where it's hard to afford a house, but somebody will give you a $40,000 on a car loan. So there's going to be education, and it'll be part of a program. But I think the key thing is really starting to fit a gap that we are really seeing in the housing market with a product we think will kickstart that economic development piece.
Let's talk about the financing for just a moment. I come in to buy one of these structures, and I go to a bank in town, secure a lien or the money to do it. The bank takes a lien on my property, and I default on that.
Sure.
What incentive does the bank, I guess, is taking the lien subject to that deed restriction?
Yes. So these are also, Freddie and Fannie are both on board with Community Land Trust. We have 7 in the state of Virginia, so it's not a lot, but there's thousands across the country. The great thing is that we will never allow that loan to default.
Okay.
We would buy it back, right? We're not going to allow that. I even had some funny conversations about, what happens if somebody's doing something illegal in here, right? Again, we would buy that home back. And in fact, there is potentially an incentive for us to buy the home back every 7 years, right? So let's just say they're sort of on a regular cycle where we buy the house back, we flip it, so to speak, we improve it, and then we put it onto the market again. So that's one of the reasons that banks really like Community Land Trust.
So do you guarantee that loan to the bank?
Right.
Okay.
So we're not, there's really such a small risk to the bank because there's not really a moment in which we wouldn't be able to purchase that back.
That is in perpetuity.
It is in perpetuity.
And that's banking on Big Brother always backing it.
It is. But again, there are sort of ways to unravel them, and that would simply be providing ownership of the land and removing the deed restriction to the condo association in this case. But I don't see that happening.
I don't know how you do that from a mortgage standpoint, because in the mortgage, you're banking on basically your guarantee that it's never going to default. And all of a sudden, if you say, hey, the 501c3's bankrupt, everything is going to the individual landowners, you've got it where you break off your certain parcel land, then I'm going to be calling the note.
Yeah, now that...
now what that's worth, I don't know, but...
We, in looking at the model in the first discussion about creating that, a lot of things like that were reviewed and looked at, and that really never happens. Some of our questions that we asked were, well, what if it tanks? How can we guarantee that the person can sell the home? And again, because we're kind of starting off the sale at a lower piece, there is some assumption there. Now, again, if we're in a sort of a catastrophic situation, we'd have to address it at that time. But there are more benefits in general with community land trusts, and much fewer ones. We don't have examples where they've unraveled. So.
Additional questions for Ms. Rice? All right. Thank you. I'm going to, excuse me, now I'm going to open the public hearing. And sir, this be your time to.
I don't know if this is the right time or not, but my name is Trey Hewitt. I live at 442 Baltimore Street with my grandmother, she's 92 years old, and I also look after the McCollum property.
That's for the next one. We
Yeah.
haven't presented on that, the entrance corridor.
Yeah.
Right, this is the Taylor Street, so that one's coming up next, okay?
Okay, well, this one, it butts up to our property right there and the McCollum property. Let's see, go back to,
Here, sir, if you want to point it on the screen
I
right there.
can't even, can you give me a different picture there? Okay, Baltimore Street right here would be ours, I think. And then, yeah, but anyway, the McCollum family, they live in California, and they wanted me to come up here and talk for them, and my grandmother did too, that they opposed to this. All the neighbors I've talked to, they opposed of it. I don't see how you can fit 15 cottages, and that ain't even 3 acres, is it? But
2.33.
how much?
2.33, I think is what I heard earlier. Is that right?
Yeah, the concept is, and that's what the drawing shows, is that the density for this would be much higher than it would be, let's say, if you were building homes in a neighborhood. You can get, what is it, 8 homes per acre, is that right? Or 8 homes,
It's like 8 homes per, or it's like 4. let me find it. So it's 1 cottage per 4,000 square feet of land. Minimum number / density of cottages per development is 4. Maximum number / density of
like
cottages
10.
per development, 8 cottages per acre was 2 acres. So they meet, and that's for, that's for limited. So the high density residential are 3, 8 cottages per acre, and it's 2 acres, so
What's the density for townhouses?
4,000. Essentially, really, this is as much as you would get for multifamily. Multifamily might even be able to get more because you could just do a big building that's pretty much an apartment complex, and you can have even more houses here, or more apartments here, more people here. Same thing with townhouses. So the point of the cottage development was to have increased density in certain parcels. This one doesn't really make that happen because multifamily could still be more here, but it's to provide connectivity and kind of create a more open space, more scenic space, and really fit in more with the area. Now, obviously, if you dropped a big multifamily building on this lot, it would not match at all to what the surrounding neighborhood is. It's mostly all single families here. So really, the cottage housing in this particular case doesn't really give as much density as you would as like a multifamily would give you a lot more. So
Yeah, that was the point.
I know they asked me to come up here and speak for them. My grandmother, she's 92 and she can't get out to come up here, and the McCollums, they live in California. And they have a lot of concerns, and my grandmother does too. And I know they would like somebody to talk to them maybe about it, because both of their properties butt right up against that property. So I don't know if y'all could do anything by talking to them, sending somebody to their house, or calling Mr. McCollum or something like that.
well, that would be, I mean, you would be available to talk to them, would you?
yeah, if they have any question about what really the development is and how it's laid out, I'm more than happy to talk to them.
They do. I don't know when I could get with you to give you the phone numbers or whatever to call, or.
If you wanted.
Mr. McCollum, he called and I
Yeah.
spoke with him.
Yeah.
He was concerned about the traffic mostly.
He's concerned about a lot of different things, and, which I know if you've done spoke to him, then you already know, so. But that's all I have to say. They asked me to come up and speak for them.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak to the public hearing? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Discussion? One question I have, Gabe, is would the Planning Commission look at the ultimate design of the cottages within the development?
No, that's something that we can just assume based on, because we have to ensure the Condominium Act. So really, they can bring it back and show you the design, but really honestly, and based on how state code has changed, it's more of a staff thing than a board. You're really just looking at, does the use match this area?
The only thing I would ask is that, I know personally, I'd like to know what it looked like in the end, more just because this is unique to the concept of cottage housing, and I assume we're going to see more. So that would be just really a point of interest.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Either way, if the applicants are willing, they can come and show it, or when we're kind of making our way through as the staff and the applicants are, I can definitely bring that in terms of design, if that's something that's not on the agenda kind of items, and just say, hey, here's the designs that meet the guidelines that what they're gonna look like. So either way, we can do that.
Additional discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll move, we approve this special use permit.
All right, is there a second to that?
I don't mind seconding it, but I'd like to add some provisions.
All right, I mean, you can amend the motion to add the provisions.
With Mr. Wilson's approval, that the COA be granted subject to confirmation that the drainage of the lower basin will handle everything off of this project in conjunction with adjacent properties, and that the project meets all relevant guidelines, such as the slopes for the common areas, everything of this nature, that it's in compliance with all of the other. Because what we're looking at right now does not meet the guidelines.
Well, that, to me, that's all redundant, because they have to go through the whole permitting process where all that is captured. We're not approving that plan they showed us with the grading, because they still
Okay,
have to
we're
go
just
through-
approving the concept for the land.
We're saying,
You're
does this fit in here? Is this something the town wants and needs? And
Overall, you're
Can live
approving the use. Is this use, this cottage use, appropriate for this area? That's really what you're looking at. And then as staff, we would ensure that all requirements, whether state or town-wise, are met.
Okay. In that case, then I'll second Mr. Wilson's motion.
Okay.
Is that as presented then, just to clarify?
As presented.
All right, if you would call the roll.
1 second. Mr. Austin?
I'm going to be looking at this once again because this is in the form of a recommendation to the town council.
That's correct.
And I have some questions that I think could be answered between now and that time. But I don't feel comfortable enough, quite frankly, tonight to vote aye or nay on it. So I'm going to abstain because I will be looking at it once again as a member of town council.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Mr. Schuman?
Aye. All right. The next order of business is zoning map amendment and zoning text amendment, Town of Abingdon expansion of entrance corridor to Porterfield Highway, parcels 104A-A-41, 104A-4-2, 104A-A-34, 104-A-2-1, 104A-8-4, 104-A-14, 104-11-9, 107-1-4, 107-1-48, 107-1-4A, 104A-A-43, 104A-A-42, 1017-17-8, 1017-17-6, 1017-17-7, 104A-13, 104A-3-1, 104A-3-2, 104A-A-32 in parentheses. That was not easy. Staff report.
Staff report's easier than that.
Yeah, I need to take a rest.
I think I'll take over from here. Town of Abington has requested approval for a zone text amendment and zone map amendment for specific parcels within the corporate limits along Porterfield Highway to be included in the entrance corridor. Porterfield Highway is a highly trafficked route that has a primary entrance into the town and to the historic district. Just for the record, I'm going to just say all these properties and the parcel numbers so everybody knows what they are. So located at 325 Porterfield Highway, parcel 104A-A-41, 380 Porterfield Highway, parcel 104A-4-2, 439 Porterfield Highway, parcel 104A-A-34, 525 Lakeside Drive, parcel 104-A-2-1, 535 Lakeside Drive, parcel 014A-8-4, 555 Porterfield Highway, parcel 104-A-14, 641 and 651 Campus Drive, parcel 104-11-9, 667 West Main Street, parcel 017-1-4, 667 West Main Street, parcel 017-1-48, 667 West Main Street, parcel 017-1-4A, 667 West Main Street, parcel 104A-A-43, 699 McBroom Street, parcel 104A-A-42, 711 West Main Street, parcel 017-17-8, parcel 017-17-6, parcel 017-17-7, parcel 104-A-13, parcel 104A-3-1, parcel 104A-3-2, and parcel 104A-A-32. While most of the subject properties are currently zoned in the General Business District B2, there is one parcel in the north that is zoned agricultural, forestal, and open space, AFOS, and five parcels in the northwest that are zoned high-density residential district, R3. The zone map amendment and zone text amendment requires a recommendation or approval from the Planning Commission and approval from Town Council prior to completion. So here's what we currently have. So as you can see, currently the entrance corridor comes up Russell Road and terminates pretty much at the intersection of Porterfield Highway and Russell. And then it goes to pretty much, this is Walgreens right here. And this is part of First Bank and First Bank's parking lot. So it kind of terminates at West Main Street and Porterfield Highway's intersection there. Here's some videos that we took. Sorry, the screen's playing tricks on me here. So this is going northbound on Porterfield. So we just exited that intersection of West Main and Porterfield, going northbound. And just so everybody knows, I think we went over this last time when we showed you the videos way back. One person was driving, one person was videoing, so this was done perfectly safe. I think that was one question that was brought up when we first discussed this. So now you're kind of seeing we're coming up to that intersection where Russell Road and Porterfield Highway intersect. And we're getting off here, but it would just come up slightly past this light to our corporate limit up there. Next one, we're going southbound. If you want to see that, I can play it. If not,
Sure.
now we're going southbound on the opposite side. And we're going towards West Main Street. to get to the intersection of West Main and Porterfield. And this is where you can either go straight to downtown, which is our entrance corridor / historic district, further down there, or you can go further down West Main Street. This is the current zoning map, so as you can see, most of it is B2. There's some R3 up here, and this little spot right here is AFOS. This is what we're proposing. So again, essentially, it's just connecting, making a bridge between the already two existing entrance corridor parcels here, and everything in yellow is the one that's selected. In terms of this, when we were selecting these, for some reason, this parcel is separated from this one, but when you click here, it selects both. Essentially, if anything were to happen, you'd only be looking at this parcel here and this one here for these, because they are not adjacent to Porterfield. It's just how the property is connected in terms of taxes. So for this one, for these, you really just be looking at these two, and then for this parcel, since way in the, for this parcel, since way in the back, you really only be looking at this section here. So it's kind of like if you think about what EO is, like in the back they have that plaza up there, and all there. You're not looking at anything up there, but you look at where the monument sign is. So essentially, it's that kind of scene. But we're just selecting that whole parcel because it's easier. But essentially, you would just be looking at if there was ever a monument sign or everything put here. That's what you'd be looking at because it's from the road. And that's just the full list again. Access to the site will continue to be Porterfield Highway, Village Boulevard, Wolf Creek Trail, Lakeside Drive, and McBroom Street. Staff findings, per Code of Virginia 15.2-2283, the purpose of a zoning ordinance shall promote health, safety, and general welfare of the public, therefore requiring that a zone text amendment and zone map amendment be reviewed for numerous specific items prior to Planning Commission recommendation to and approval by Town Council. The ZMA findings are the following. Consider the proper relationship of such amendment to the entire zoning plan. The underlying zoning for each parcel will not change. Adding an overlay district to specific parcels imposes additional regulations and will not have any adverse effects on the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. There are no conflicts with any provisions of the zoning ordinance. B, consider the integrity and validity of the zoning districts described in this chapter. Porterfield Highway is a major transportation route within the town of Abingdon, leading northbound to other counties and southbound to Interstate Exit 14. Porterfield Highway connects Russell Road and West Main Street, two major entrance routes to downtown and the historic corridor. As a significant access route to the historic district, Porterfield Highway may be taken into the entrance corridor to ensure future development is compatible, attractive, and well-planned. C, avoid isolated, unplanned spot zoning changes in the zoning district map. All parcels will be taken into the existing overlay district. The underlying zoning will not change. D, recognize that a certain element of stability is desirable in land use controls, but conditions and standards will change. All parcels taken into the entrance corridor will require certificate of appropriateness for new developments or redevelopments. Existing structures and signage shall be considered grandfathered or legal nonconforming if there are any such cases. E, consider the right of all citizens to be treated reasonably. Adjacent property owners were sent one certified mailer in January and two certified mailers in February, one for Planning Commission, one for Town Council. Public notices were issued in a newspaper of general circulation, posted online to the town website and social media page, and posted at Town Hall in the kiosk box outside the first floor offices. Field notices were placed on February 17th, 2026. A list of parcel numbers, owner names, and physical addresses that will be affected by the possible zoning and text amendments are included as attachment A, which you see here. F, evaluate all changes based on the comprehensive plan and comprehensive analysis of community conditions. The Abingdon Comprehensive Plan was updated in 2020. There are specific references to the entrance corridor and Porterfield Highway in Abingdon. In 2003, Abingdon adopted a historic district entrance corridor overlay district to achieve an enhanced land development pattern and retain the town's historic character. New development within entrance corridors leading to the historic district may meet design standards for landscaping, signage, architecture, lighting, and site planning, and be approved by the Planning Commission. Porterfield Highway serves as a major north transportation corridor to adjacent counties. Just to give you a little idea, I had our economic development specialist run some numbers. The average daily traffic, or ADT, is approximately 24,000 vehicles per day along State Route 19/Porterfield Highway between Russell Road and West Main Street. So it's a very highly traveled route. That's actually, I think, more than Cumming Street is, I believe. The town's gateway entrance corridors at Porterfield Highway, that's just another reference in a comprehensive code, in a comprehensive plan. Overall, staff can conclude that the inclusion of specific parcels into the entrance corridor shall not constitute spot zoning and is in line with the Town of Abington Comprehensive Plan adopted in 2020. As I mentioned, all public noticing was done accordingly to state regulations. We even sent out an extra one in January so we could give the public ample time to know what was going on. So really, we started our process in January for a certified mailer, but the official state required one started in February.
Questions for Gabe?
Responses to those notices?
We got, let's see here. I think I'm just missing two. One's from current property owner, 585 South Boulevard East. And actually, that's the only one I'm missing for the ZTA and ZMA. That's the only one. Everybody else has received either the PC mailer, which we sent out, or the TC mailer. So everybody else has received it.
And have they made any comments back to staff regarding their position?
Not that I have heard, but Amber. I had one person. Oh, Amber, can you come up to the front?
I had one person call today at about 4:45 and ask if the meeting was public. Are they here present today? They are here. That's the only call I received on this particular portion.
Thank you.
Additional questions? If not, I'm going to open the public hearing. That way,
I'm at 525 Lakeside Drive with my mother, Josephine Shelton. She's on your list. I guess we're one of the few residences involved in this. Honestly, I'm still not clear on what's going on with the corridor anyway. Are you expanding Porterfield Highway? Is that the idea, or
So
is
we're-
it just rezoning right now?
So we're not rezoning it technically in a sense. So we're expanding the entrance corridor, but your zoning will not change. You'll still stay R3. May I ask where?
525 Lakeside Drive?
Please.
We're the house with the pond in front of it when you're in your video when you were driving by.
Okay. Which side? Could you point on the screen?
Yeah.
This one right here?
Well, it's hard to tell from your map, but when you had the video going, you drove past it. It's the one with the, here we go. Well, your parcel number you have on your list here is 104A 21 -2-1.
Let me see. Give me one sec, sir. I just want to make sure I know exactly where you're talking about. And what was the parcel again, sir?
104, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
104-A-2-1.
That's correct up there, how I have it on the screen?
Yes. And that's what you had on the paper, but I'm not even sure that's the right parcel number from what our records show. But it's right at Wolf Creek Trail.
Your cursor's almost on it. It's
Yeah,
right across
almost.
from Camellia Center.
Go
Yes.
left.
Right there, yeah.
Left, yeah.
Okay.
And that's
So-
where that's where the pond is. In fact, my neighbor from 535 is here as well. We just came down to see what we could find out about what's going on,
Yep.
and
So your zoning won't change, it'll still be R3 and everything. And as I pointed out when I was presenting it, so when you click on that parcel, so if I clicked on this one here, for some reason it selects this part here, that's adjacent to Porterfield, and the actual where the house is. So,
yeah, there's actually, I believe that's actually two separate parcels. I don't have the numbers, but I believe that was a separate piece of land that we also own. So
okay, and this is from the county, so this is what the county's records have in that sense. But essentially, if anything was to develop on this piece of land, it would come before planning commission in terms of review. But if anything happened at the house here, they wouldn't look at it because it's not adjacent to Porterfield. We're just going by what the records that we have and that the county's provided us in that
So
sense.
that would just be down next to Porterfield, which is where the pond is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And are there plans to expand Porterfield?
No, not to this point. We're just expanding the entrance corridor, which will be from all the parcels that are along Porterfield Highway to the town's limit. So the extension of Porterfield's not, the actual physical expansion of the road is not occurring. It's just, it's just an expansion of the overlay district. So again, same thing with you, sir, for your parcel that's connected to 535 Lakeside Drive. Essentially, if anything were to happen, which is this very small piece of land here, they'd only be looking at this piece here if anything were to develop there. But essentially, your zoning staying the same, nothing would be changing in that sense. So if you did renovations on your house here, they wouldn't look at that.
Okay. Only the parcel, and that's, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
We just had to go through that because when we clicked it, that's what showed up.
Right.
But obviously, when we're doing the map, I can tell our third party just to select that one parcel. So when it shows up on our map, it's just that one singular parcel that's connected to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell her that then? Is that the,
To,
you're saying you'll let them know that just that parcel is
Yep.
land, or, okay?
yeah. So, and they can do that. They can just select that one. It's like a polygon almost, and when you do that sort of system, and I can just say, you see this part right here? I know it's 2. Just select that one. So if you ever propose something that said, hey, I'm going to do a development on this land, we would look at the site plan, and we're like, oh, it's for the house. Their planning commission won't have to look at it, staff doesn't have to look at it. You'd have to go through any permits, maybe for building if you needed some.
Well, down, the parcel by the road is basically just the pond. We don't have any structures down there. We don't plan on doing any building down there or anything, but I just wanted to ensure it didn't relate to the property where the house is.
No, yeah, because we're only allowed to do what's adjacent to the Arteeler Road, which in this case is Porterfield Highway. It's just because how when you click on the parcel from our records that we have from the county, that's what selects it. But when we actually do our, putting it on our map that you see here, if you clicked on, and I'll do this here so you can see. So if you go to planning and zoning, you'll see it says entrance corridor parcels here. See how they're all red?
Right.
So when I talk to our third-party GIS people, when they're going in, I'm going to say, just select this parcel here.
Okay.
Or just select this parcel here for you, sir. I'm not going to say select this one or select this one because they can't review it. It's not adjacent to Porterfield.
Okay.
So, and again, your zoning's not changing. You're still R3.
Okay. I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. Any additional comments for the public hearing? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Any discussion? We've been discussing this for a while, so.
Yes, I apologize for that, but after our planner one left us, we just had to make sure things would run smoothly, and then we were able to hire Amber, who's doing a fantastic job, so we're able to kind of catch up to things that you were requesting previously. So I appreciate the patience, and we're ready to move forward however you want.
Additional discussion? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move we approve the proposed zone map amendment and zone text amendment as presented.
All right, is there a second to that?
Yep, I'll second it.
All right, any additional discussion? If not, if you would call the roll.
Mr. Austin?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Mr. Pennington?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Schuman?
Aye. Old business matters not on the agenda. Do we have anything else? Any announcements?
No, I'm going to be setting up kind of those introductory meetings for you guys, for whoever selected, like infrastructure or tourism or whoever you picked, whatever group, just to kind of meet and greet. I know fire departments reached out and said they're, whenever we're ready or whenever you guys are ready to meet with them and just kind of go over stuff. Same thing with Public Works, so kind of be a good introductory one. So I'll be setting those up shortly, and the RFP will be
Sounds good.
getting finished up and sent to our project manager to review to make sure everything's in keeping with what we need,
Do,
and then it'll go out.
do we have a vendor for the comprehensive plan
Not
yet?
yet, no, we'll get the RFP out, and then we'll go through our review process. Obviously, you guys will look at them too, and then we'll go from there.
Any additional discussion? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I will be out of town for the March meeting.